For those who don't know, recently there was an event where myself and Bingo's greatest player of all time, Ramato13, scrimmed each other in a marathon to raise money for future Sunshine events. The rules of the event were as follows. We were going to play 6 scrims every day until one of the following happened. Either I would win, a week would pass, or people wouldn't donate enough money for the next game. Kind of like a subathon type of thing. The whole reason for this event happening was because of our argument on what my chances in beating him were. I said that I had about a 10% chance to beat him in any given game, but he thought that that was ridiculous, and that I had maybe only a 2% chance of winning any game. To put that idea to the test, we organized this event. Here's how it went. Before I start recapping the event, it's probably also a good idea to explain what makes Ramato the GOAT and me some lowly scrub, and to even have this sort of match in the first place. What makes Ramato so good is this great combination of all these incredible attributes. First of all, he's an incredibly fast player. He still has a top 10 any percent time in Super Mario Sunshine, a really strong 120 shine time, and is probably one of the most practiced bingo players of all time, which means that he can also do the bingo routes with incredible strength. On top of that, not only has he won almost every single prestigious bingo tournament in history, he's also a super talented router, and it's incredibly hard to catch him off guard. Even if Ramato makes a key gameplay mistake, usually his routing prowess is more than enough to get him out of any sticky situations. Not only did he win Bingo's first most competitive tournament in 2019, he also won the most recent one, Dawn of a Dynasty, just a month ago. In terms of how I stacked up to Ramato, my biggest detriment was going to be in terms of speed. Not only do I have way less speedrunning experience with Mario Sunshine than he does, making me lose multiple minutes on average throughout any game, I'm also playing on emulator, which means that every load of the Delfino Plaza, of every secret area, anything like that, would cost me multiple seconds. Over the course of a game, I'm probably losing something like 5 minutes to Ramato just over the course of gameplay. That being said, I think my routing is one of the strongest in the game right now. So if I could come up with a genius enough route, maybe, just maybe, I would stand a chance against the greatest player of all time. On top of that, nobody's free from mistakes. I knew that if I could catch him off guard and punish hard, maybe I would just have a chance at beating him. Throughout the event, we played a bunch of different bingo formats that I'll sort of clarify more as we approach them. But in general, the key idea that you want to know is that first to 13 goals wins. And once a goal is clicked, the other guy can't click it. So once you have more than half the goals on the card, you just win. That's how the lockout works, and that's the most competitive format in Super Mario Sunshine Bingo. Since recapping the whole event would take probably many hours, I picked out 4 of the most competitive and interesting games to sort of talk about, analyze, and walk through. That's going to be games 8, 9, 11, and 18. Before I get into the games, I want to talk a bit about the pressure of the tournament. Going in, I felt like I would be like a bit of a laughingstock if I couldn't beat him at least 10% of the time. Even though he's the best player in the world, it still feels bad. At the end of the day, any self-respecting competitor wants to win. And that's why day 1 was so difficult for me. Imagine queuing up ranked and not only losing every single game for 7 hours, but not even coming close to winning. Any competitor is going to have that crush them, and I was no exception. But one thing that I think I do have going in my favor is that I think I have a really good mentality. Even though I felt terrible, I barely slept after day 1, I came into day 2 and I thought, today I'm going to get my chance. And I think a lot of other players or people would have crumbled under the pressure. A lot of the pressure is also applied from yourself. At the end of the day, like what someone says about my gameplay, it matters to me a little bit, but at the end of the day, I want to prove to myself how good I am. And day 1, I didn't even get close in any of the games. Before I get into game 8, which is the first one I'm going to cover, which was the second game of day 2, I want to explain how different formats of bingo work. So in the main bingo circuit, there are 5 main formats. We most recently had an invasion tournament, which all has its own crazy set of rules. But the game 8 that we played in this tournament was row control. Of the 5 main formats, there were 2 that I felt benefited me in particular, and it happens to be that those are the 2 that I won on. Row control is one of those 2. The way to win at row control is you need to get 3 goals in 3 rows to win. This is also in the context of lockout bingo, which basically means that when one player clicks a goal, the other player can't also click it. So there's a lot of urgency to pick things up before your opponent instead of picking things up at your own pace. Even though row control is arguably Ramato's best format, there were 2 reasons that I felt like it benefited me. The first reason is that by its nature, it's more volatile. In row control, you technically only need 9 goals to win. So if you select the proper 9 goals and outplay your opponent in that regard, you're actually able to just win off that, as opposed to something like lockout, which is a lot more flexible. In row control, if you find yourself behind, there's a lot less time to catch up. Where in lockout, there's so much flexibility and long-term game planning and stuff like that a lot of the time, there's still a way in. The other reason is that row control really benefits the initial game plan. Mason once said that row control is the only format that doesn't have a mid-game. And while I don't think I necessarily agree with that on every card, I do think it's true on some of them, especially in the regard that from the very beginning you need to be considering your win conditions and what you want to play for. Looking at the card for Game 8, I didn't really want to commit to doing anything too risky. The game plan that I settled on was starting with 2 shines in Bianco and then picking up Rico 3 hoverless, and then reacting to what Remato would do. My plan with this was to get a strong foothold in row 4, which would have 2 shines from 5 levels and 2 rocket nozzle unlocks for me down the line, row 3, which would feature Rico 3 hoverless, and also ideally 9 episode shines in row 5. I figured it was a flexible enough play that I could see what Remato was doing and then decide what to change. That being said, Remato started with something that was completely unexpected to me, a 17Ms rush. Now it's fairly common to rush some types of goals, but 17Ms is a really weird one, because a lot of the time, a 17M rush means that you're foregoing a lot of level progress, stuff like progress to 2 shines from 5 levels, or to 2 rocket unlocks, or to 9 episodes, and focusing really hard on blue coins. But because Remato's so fast, it's not always easy to read into his timings. Part of this was also because he collected 10 extra blue coins along the way, which I mistook for him completing the levels in which he collected the M graffitis. When someone's so far outside of your speed bracket, it's very easy to sort of misplace a couple seconds and not realize how far along they really are. I didn't see too much threat in particular with this plan, until he clicked 23 Rico blue coins and 40 total blue coins. Once he did that, I knew something was up. Blue coins were fairly decent on the card, but that immense focus on blue coins that early was a big shock to me. All of a sudden, my row 4 setup might have been in jeopardy, and all of a sudden, row 1 might be in trouble too. And because Remato's so fast, in theory he should have first priority to Noki, winning potentially the Noki 100 coin shine, 12 Noki blue coins, and that type of thing. Seeing his blue coin focus, I felt safe delaying Rico 3 hoverless for a little bit, clicking it once I got my second rocket nozzle. The point of delay clicks is basically to hide information from your opponent, so that I could complete things without showing it to Remato. While I was concerned about a heavy shine rush play, I made the, in retrospect, very weak decision to go to Serena. The reason I wanted to go to Serena was to set up for a bunch of different things, like 2 shines from 5 levels, 7 shines of secrets, Serena hidden shine in row 5. But with the information I was given, I really should have made the decision to start heavily focusing on shine progression. For me, the penny really dropped once Remato clicked 50 yellow coins from 2 levels or 150 Delfino yellow coins. To me, that read as a 150 Delfino yellow coin mega shine rush in a row 1, 2, and 4 play, and to be honest, that would have immediately closed the game. In row 1, Remato already had a ridiculous blue coin lead to 80 total blue coins, and if he just rushes his shine progress, he can also win to eel shine. In row 2, if he gets 12 Noki blue coins and 15 shines from Delfino with blue trades, which he has all the blues, he's getting all the Delfinos, that's also an easy lock for him. And then in row 4, all he needs is the Noki 100 coin shine. Despite this, I was caught in a bit of decision paralysis. If I drop everything to do Delfinos, that also gives him free reign to completely catch up in progress anywhere else, and maybe even steal something like 9 episodes, row 5, row 3, anything of the sort. Because of that, I made the, once again, weak decision to complete Serena 2, before completely going ham on Delfino shines. That being said, one thing that I didn't realize in my calculations was how heavily Remato actually focused blue coins. If Remato had completed the shines that he entered when collecting the blue coins, it would be no contest to Noki. He would simply have first pick at every goal and I had no choice. However, since he didn't complete those level shines, he was actually in a very weird predicament, where he didn't have enough Delfino shines to quickly make it to Noki and had to complete some level shines. Instead, Remato chose a completely different route. Focus even harder on blue coins and then be able to trade tons to get to Noki. Once Remato clicked 20 blue coins from 2 levels, I thought he might actually be overcommitting. And in some ways, I was right. Blue coins are fairly slow, and so if he really did commit to 20 blue coins from 2 levels, that means he just spent a bunch of time getting 20 blue coins in another level, and maybe, just maybe, I can get to Noki Bay in time. One other thing I had going for me was that when he was in Noki Bay, he was in a position where he somewhat had to secure 12 Noki blue coins first. For one, it's entirely necessary to secure row 2. 5 bosses and 20 Bianco blue coins are simply completely out of his reach. Even though blue coins might seem pleasant for him, I'm the one with the Bianco lead, and he has no boss shines at this point. But if he has to get 12 Noki blue coins first, that means he can't start with the Noki 100 coin shine, so I decided to make that my primary goal if I could get to Noki in time. Once I was at 18 shines, I also ran out of fast Delfino shines, and made the decision to go to Gelato Beach and secure 9 episodes and get 2 shines from another level. Going into Noki, Remato was 1 full shine ahead of me. But there was a small upside in that Remato still had to get his blue coins, and also, especially, that Remato made the decision to do Noki 1 first. This is an important decision because Noki 1 is required to get to the eel shine, but also unlocks a faster 100 coin shine for him to complete. That being said, by doing Noki 1 first, it also means that he's not immediately securing things like 12 Noki blue coins and Noki 100 coin shine, potentially giving me a chance to catch up. And while he does route in a couple Noki blue coins along the way, he does still have to exit and re-enter. Remato enters Noki 2 as I trade in my blue coins, so he still has a lead. But remember, he still has to secure the 12 Noki blue coins. If I can pick those up, the game is basically immediately over. So we're slated for a crazy Noki 100 coin shine race, where Remato has a big lead but has to pick up some more blue coins along the way. The race is down to the wire. Remato spawns the shine while I have 64 coins, but the very end of Noki 100s is super quick, and Remato is still short blue coins. He collects the last blue as I'm walking through the final coin tunnel to make the shine spawn. Remember what I said, all it takes is one mistake, and all of a sudden, a game can be flipped on its head.
If Remato hits this? Oh, he's up there. He's made it up.
Wait, but who has more stream delay? Who has more stream delay? Oh, wait!
Remato died early!
He's pivoting! Oh, no, he's not.
What?
He got it!
With row 4 now being mine, the big question was what was next on the table for me. I didn't have this time to secure row 5. I just had to assume it was mine. And at this point, it was a good assumption. Remato actually had no progress to any of the goals in that row, and spending time on it would have been time wasted. At the same time, row 2 was a lost cause, so I had to choose between row 3 and row 1. At this point, I had no idea that Remato had a lead on me in Noki, so my thought was I'm going to try and go for all 4 eel blues, while Remato works on potentially other things. 3 Fruit Lady blue coins is such a scary thing to leave up at this point in the game, because it can be done at any time, and neither of us have progress to Delfino Turbo. Remato would stay the course into Noki 3, and if he continued in Noki, this game would be completely wrapped. However, he got cold feet, and ended up going to do the 3 Fruit Lady blue coin. This would give me just enough time to get to Noki 4 a smidgen before Remato, and from there, all I had to do was get the eel blues to set up a super pleasant 50-50 between row 1 and row 3. That being said, I would do the most frustrating possible thing. With all the pressure bearing down on me, I forgot the route to collect the 4 eel blue coins in the bay. Now this is super embarrassing, especially looking back on it. But in the moment, it's something I hadn't done in a long time. It's something that very rarely comes up, especially for the slower player. And Bingo has so much knowledge you have to think about. The coin that I missed was the one that's right behind the first coin. What I remembered was that you kind of go left and then you go clockwise to collect the eel blue coins. But what I didn't realize was that when you go left at first, you have to keep going forwards after to get the second blue coin. It was a disastrous choke, and I forfeited the game on the spot, as I knew I wasn't going to win a race to the eel shine, nor be able to protect everything remaining in row 1 even if I did. After 8 games, I had just squandered my best chance. In the same position, many others would crumble. Finally, I'd gotten the chance and I'd gotten so close, and just fallen apart at the finish line. But I'm not like most people. After a short 5-minute break, I came into the next game with my head held high, keeping the following in mind. If a god can bleed, that means he can also be slain. The format of Game 9 would be Blockout, which is a very interesting format, the most recent one added to the main circuit. This was the other format I felt I had an advantage in, but first, let me explain how it works. Instead of being first to 13 goals on the board, now it's first to 10, and each player gets 3 blocks. The first block has to be used before the end of cutscenes, which means that you can shape the card to your liking a little bit, by maybe cutting a world out of the play, or nerfing a certain play idea later down the line. For example, if you want to play a very low shine count route, you could block something like 26 shines in the opening cutscenes. Then, it's something you don't have to worry about later down the line. The reason I thought I was favored to block out was for a couple reasons. The first one was, like in row control, you need less goals to win, and so you might be more able to catch your opponent off guard. The blocks are also a very volatile thing. If you get a really good read on your opponent and use the block properly, you can really put them in a really awkward spot. The other reason is that it was a format that me and Ramato had little experience in. It was introduced in 2022 for Seasons 4 and 5, both of which me and Ramato hadn't played. As a result, between the two of us, the only experience we had was the game of Blockout we played earlier in the tournament, and one scrim I'd played one time with Deathline. In our first game of Blockout, I'd actually been in a decent position, until Ramato perfectly timed a pin a hidden block against me while I was 2 seconds away from making the click myself. If I could make a similar play happen in the other direction, maybe I could come away with a win. And seeing the card, I've realized that this was my opportunity to make a crazy play. In Game 8, it had been Ramato to make a crazy play, with a lot of risk. I knew he wouldn't do the same thing again. Instead, I saw an opportunity to do something that nobody had done in years, and that's called the Pinna Rush. Back around 2019, the Pinna Rush was a common-ish strategy employed in a lot of different games. The idea is to give up everything in the early game and get to Pinna Park as quickly as possible. This was powerful back in around 2019, because a lot of the goals were heavily shine progress oriented, far more than in the current patch. The Pinna Rush is still employed in 2v2, where you have a lot more opportunity to split up resources between a team, but in 1v1 it's essentially died out. The last Pinna Rush that I can think of happened over 2 years ago, in the spring lockout, and to be quite honest, the 1 seed using it against the 16 seed and then barely winning the game, in my opinion, was not a good sell for the strategy. In the current era, it requires a very specific card and a very specific read, and this was both of those. On the card, Pinna was ridiculous. It offered 16 Pinna blue coins, Ride Yoshi in 2 worlds, Pinna 5 from the back hoverless, Pinna hidden shine, 6 shines from 2 worlds, in which Pinna is a great place to do those, and 2 secrets in 1 level. In addition, the initial rush actually offered some decent progress as well. It's another 6 shines from a world, meaning that you can finish the 6 shines from 2 worlds in Pinna. 26 shines means that you're collecting the fastest shines available to get to Pinna Park. And 11 Delfino blue coins is a nice goal to pick up along the way. Now that's the card. The question is, how did I have the read to make this play? If you listen back to the commentary, the way they see the card is that it's probably a good Deep Bianco card. You can get 5 Bianco shines, 20 Bianco blue coins, and 2 secrets in 1 level early, and position yourself strongly for goals like 7 Bluebird blue coins and 4 secret shines, and 2 hidden shines from 1 level. But when I looked at this card, I knew Remato wouldn't do it. Now I had gathered 8 games of data in between our game, and the one thing that I really realized was Remato loves shine progress. Every single game we had played, he had caught me off guard because he was so fast getting to places. In fact, there's a funny clip from one of the earlier games where I said the following.
Hey, my bad, I'm locked in because I'm realizing the fate of the game is on me winning to Noki.
Alright, you got this, bro.
Yeah, whoever gets to Noki wins, and he's already there. But here's another thing. Remato is very adherent to the meta. The Pinna Rush hasn't been viable in the meta in so long. It's something that he would never do. What I expected out of him was something like a semi-Pinna Rush, which is very common in the current meta. I expected him to do something like get a couple Rico shines and Delfinos on the way to Pinna, or get 2 Gelato hidden shines and Delfinos on the way to Pinna. But I knew Remato is too risk averse and too compelled to his way of playing that he will not make a risk and go for a straight Pinna Rush. Now the first thing to happen in the game was actually a silly mistake from Remato, which also helped me out significantly. The first thing he did was block 11 Delfino blue coins instead of clicking it. This had 2 positive side effects. For one, now it's 0-0 instead of 1-0. And second of all, he now only has 1 block left to counter whatever I'm going to do. 11 Delfino blue coins was something I was interested in, but I knew it was a secondary objective to the Pinna Rush. My goal was to pick up a couple Delfino blue coins along the way and then trade 10 in to get to Pinna. And if I had the time to get the 11th for the goal, then I may as well take it. When he blocked the goal, it immediately felt suspect to me. Why would he block 11 Delfino blue coins? It's such a weird read to make, especially when it's something accessible so early that he would want for himself. That being said, I stuck to my plan, and after 20 minutes, nothing was clicked. This is another thing where I find I'm probably one of the better players at handling, and that's when no information is given by either side. My read was the following. Remato did a semi-Pinna Rush. He has something that he's delaying, like 2 Gelato hidden shines. And he's in Pinna, but he's a little bit behind me. And off of that read, I took a dangerous risk. Once I completed Pinna 2, I blocked 16 Pinna blue coins. The reason that this is so risky is because if Remato isn't in Pinna at all and just hiding progress elsewhere, I've actively sabotaged my very own game plan of being quick to Pinna, because now I don't get the Pinna blue coin reward for it. But it turns out my read was spot on. Remato was collecting the 16 Pinna blue coins as I blocked it and was about 10 of blue coins in.
No matter
sucks. Oh my god, Tomato blocked 16 Pinna blues.
Wait, this is crazy. Let me unmute him.
Insane.
Is he gonna say anything about that block? Nope, it was just a timing block. That's crazy. How did he know?
Dude, like,
well, I guess you haven't seen any of these goals, like the Bianco
Yeah.
Serena ones that we've talked about. So it's just like, well, he must do
okay.
the same thing as me. But he also, right? Okay, I guess that's decent timing because Remato did the Pianta 100 and he doesn't know about that.
Yeah.
So that might have even been a little late. But it is enough time for Tomato to be ahead, right?
The commentators mentioned that my timing might have been a bit off, but the reason for it was because I didn't expect Remato to do a straight Pinna Rush, because nobody does a straight Pinna Rush. And for the timing that I had in my head, my block timing was essentially perfect. In fact, Remato in the interview would later reveal that he messed up a little bit in his collection of the Piana 100 coin shine. And if that had gone more smoothly, that block would have been a brutal timing, likely catching him in the final couple blue coins. However, in the moment, the fog of war is still present. Neither of us knew what each other were doing. And so for ultimate safety, I made the decision to do Pinna Episode 3 first, before going back for the Pinna Hidden Shine. This had 2 key side effects. The first was if he gets the Pinna Hidden Shine, I have a lead in Pinna. And keep in mind, a lot of the power of Pinna comes from later, like 6 shines from 2 worlds, Pinna 5 from the back cover list, 2 secrets, 1 level. That's where the real power of Pinna is. And second, if I click the Pinna hidden shine, he will think he has more time than he really does. 2 shines later, the first click of the game finally comes in at 26 minutes, with me clicking Pinna hidden shine. And guess what? The timing for me is perfect. Remato had just made a similar play, going into Pinna 3 and ignoring the Pinna hidden shine, thinking it to be bait, because the real value is in the deeper Pinna. As a result, he saw me click Pinna hidden shine and thought, great, I'm ahead in Pinna, not realizing that I had Pinna 3 complete already. And this exact play would go on to net me almost all of the Pinna value. Remato would reveal that he had completed the Piana 100 coin shine on the way to Pinna, exactly as I had predicted. Perhaps not exactly the Piana 100 coin shine, but that he would do something small on the way to Pinna, just because he knew he would pick it up. For me, the click immediately validated everything that I'd thought about the game so far, and made me gun even harder for the Pinna 5 from the back and 6 from 2 worlds. That being said, it wasn't anything concrete. Piana 100 could mean anything. At the end of the day, you can only delay a goal like that for so long. After getting Pinna 5 from the back and 6 shines from 2 worlds, the penny would finally drop. Remato would click Ride Yoshi in 2 worlds.
Cool game. That's actually what a cool game, man. Like, what a cool game.
Let's go.
At that point, I knew that I had completely outplayed him. I was winning 3-2. I had probably timed my 16 Pinna blue coin block correctly. I was now ahead to 2 secrets in 1 level, which he would either be unable to contest and have to block, or have to just give up. And I had placed myself in what was essentially a winning position. From this point, Remato didn't really know what to do, and ended up following me to 2 secrets in 1 level, hoping that he could beat me just by being quick. Unfortunately for him, this happens to be one of the few levels I'm half decent at, and I was still able to collect the shine before he was able to, pushing my lead to 4-2. My opening gambit had gone perfectly, but this is where one of my greatest weaknesses in the brain department comes in, the middle game. At this point, I realized that neither of us have much progress to anything. The only thing that I really have on Remato is a lead to 2 hidden shines from 1 level, and he probably doesn't have any significant leads on me. The first thing I decided to do and try to scope out Remato's next plan was to go for 2 gelato hidden shines. It's a quick, low commitment goal that also makes progress to 4 secret shines for me. But this is when my biggest mistake of the game would come in. After collecting only 1 hidden shine in gelato, I would click the goal and immediately unclick it, as I realized that I didn't have 2 gelato hidden shines. And Remato, realizing what that meant, immediately used his final block, as I was about to re-enter gelato. From here, I thought the next natural place to go would be Bianco. Bianco, like we talked about in the beginning, actually had a fair amount of value, but I didn't know how much I would be able to extract because my guess was that Remato was already there. And that guess would be validated immediately as he clicked 4 secret shines. From there, I thought he might try to secure the Bianco things, and instead I made the decision to go to Noki Bay, after completing Bianco 3. However, I ended up once again following Remato, after he would complete really cool Kinney kicks to be able to complete Noki 2 jumpless with the boss shine. The upside for me was that I could go and do the Noki 2 boss normally, setting myself up better for 4 unique boss shines. My next game plan was going to be to go back to gelato for a bunch of different things. 4 unique boss shines was a key one on my radar, because there was no real reason to collect the Manta Ray on this card, and so I opted to go for the Wiggler instead. At the same time, conveniently, Wiggler shine was also on the card, and Gelato Episode 4 offers a turbo nozzle. If I could collect all 3 of those, and I had a lead to 2 hidden shines from 1 level, it was likely that I could probably finagle another 2 goals, something like Gelato 6 and potentially Blue Coins or Rico 100 coin. One thing in the back of my mind was that Remato might be interested in a lot of the same things. He had the Bianco lead, and that means he could equally contest things like 20 Bianco blue coins, but also the 2 turbo nozzle unlocks, because Bianco 6 features a turbo, as well as potentially 2 hidden shines from 1 level. I also knew that it was up to Remato to collect blue coins at this point. He had to secure those because they were too risky to leave up. But one thing that was never even really on my radar was 26 shines. Remato is the faster player, and I've done a bunch of slow things like Gelato 2 this game. In theory, he should be winning that 9 times out of 10. But as I completed the Wiggler shine, I realized I'm only 1 shine off of 26 shines, and I can collect the super fast Gelato hidden that I forgot earlier when I clicked that goal by accident. Oops. And I can also pick up the turbo nozzle at the same time. It felt like everything was coming together. But nothing was guaranteed yet. I would get my 26th shine and the turbo nozzle unlock, and from there, I would go to 2 hidden shines from 1 level. A lot of the time, it's a smart idea to save a safety goal for last, one that you're guaranteed to be ahead to, and then play for the risky goal first. The reason I did the safety goal first, unlike popular knowledge suggests, is because I knew Remato could have decent progress to 2 hidden shines from 1 level. He had shown the same deep pinna as me, and the only reason that I would be ahead to that was because I completed 1 pinna hidden shine that he didn't, but that doesn't mean that he can't contest it himself. That's why I made sure to secure that and then play the last goal a little bit riskier, knowing that he would have so many things to defend despite being ahead to all of them. As for what goal I would choose, this goes back to another argument that I have with Remato regularly, about 50-50s. Remato will often say, at the super top level, once bingo is solved, it's all going to come down to luck, making the right rock, paper, scissors call in a situation. But this is why I disagree. The imperfect information in bingo is going to be everything, even at the highest level of play, because there's so many options for me to go for. The most obvious option for me was Gelato 6. I knew that Remato didn't have a lot of progress, likely having to do Noki 3 through 6 to complete that goal, before I could do Gelato 4 through 6. However, there were a couple things that scared me off from that goal. First of all, I hadn't seen any information from Remato, and to be quite honest, in his shoes, I would most likely try to commit Noki 6 and then hold on to it and try and bait me into going for it and making progress elsewhere. The other seemingly obvious option for Remato was the Rico 100 coin shine. Rico 100s is just a generic goal that anyone can get at any time, and generally the best time to get 100 coin shine goals is right after the last shine progress thing is clicked, because that's when it doesn't cost you too much to just invest the time for a single goal. I was convinced that Remato was going to go for one of those two, which is why I made the daring choice to go for a goal I knew I was behind to. 20 Bianco blue coins. There were 2 other reasons I went for this. First of all, I knew Remato didn't know in my Bianco progress. I had completed Bianco 3, but I had never shown anything related to Bianco Hills. The reason I did that was to set up for a potential Bianco later, because at that point 5 Bianco shines was still on the board, as were 4 secret shines. There were 2 other reasons why I could go for this. The first was that I still had a block left, and I used it on 7 Bluebird blue coins. No matter what happened with 20 Bianco blue coins, I knew I could never win 7 Bluebird blue coins, because Remato had already done Bianco 6, and the Bluebird is available in that level. I had no intentions of ever completing Bianco episode 5 and getting that goal, and I made that very clear. But in doing so, I also signal that I don't want to go to Bianco Hills, which may make Remato even less incentivized to pick up the 20 Bianco blue coins. And the second reason is the following. 45 total blue coins is still on the board. So even if I lose 20 Bianco blue coins, it's possible for me to sneak up on 45. And if I lose that, I can still sneak up on 60. So I felt it was the best option to give me as many potential ways to win the game as possible. Conveniently, I only needed 1. What I didn't know was that Remato had actually collected 17 of the 20 Bianco blue coins on the way to his second turbo play. and I had barely sniped him to 26 shines, 2 turbo nozzle unlocks, and then here finally 20 Bianco blue coins because he never had the time to finish them out. And with that, well, I'll let the pop-off speak for itself.
Dude, tomato popping up.
Holy!
Crazy.
Look at his reaction right there. He's like tweaking him up.
This is huge. Huge day. Welcome in, GG's.
Yeah.
Lotto.
Yo, GG.
GG.
Yeah, that was a match.
Yo,
That was a match that happened.
GG.
let's go.
Dude, we have a lot to talk about here. I think.
I guess so.
Finally beating Romano felt so validating. The whole time, it felt like everyone was doubting that I could do it, and finally I had proven it to myself and the world that it was possible for me to beat the best player of all time. But that being said, the event wasn't over. All it had now was a final deadline. We would end up playing 22 games across the whole event. But the next noteworthy game would already come 2 games later, and another row control. Game 11 immediately had a very weird start. Piana seemed super duper pleasant, with Piana 3 damageless, 15 M Graffiti blue coins, 16 Piana blue coins, and 6 pipes being all on the board together, as well as Piana 100 coin shine. I knew that Ramato would have first dibs to a lot of these goals, and so I would need to make a decision on what to try and force to picking up and what to sacrifice. What I ended up on was the following. If it were me, I would start with Piana 3 damageless. So I was going to say he was going to start with Piana 3 damageless. And instead, I wanted to pick up Piana 100 coin shine and then the 15 M Graffiti blue coins. This would also mean I would sacrifice row 4 entirely from the very beginning. Meaning the only rows I could play for were 1, 2, 3, and 5. And I needed 3 of those. Luckily, this plan went off without a hitch, and I was able to pick up the Piana 100 coin shine and the 15 M Graffiti blue coins. From there, I thought the best play would be to go for 3 secret shines. Piana doesn't have particularly many secrets. There's only one in episode 5, and so I thought if I went elsewhere and just tried to force the 3 fastest secrets in Bianco, Serena, and Gelato, I would be able to pick up that goal. However, Ramato was on his toes, and actually ended up picking up 3 secret shines with Pina 2, Gelato 1, and Pianta 5, which is a possibility I hadn't considered. While I was racking my brain for what secrets Ramato had collected, I realized that I needed to make a play and fast. At that point, I realized that row 2 was actually just a blue coin row. Between 50 total blue coins, 20 Bianco blue coins, and 20 blue coins from 2 levels, I could just secure that row no problem. While I worked on that, Ramato made sure to secure his Pinna Park value. And then I needed to make a crucial decision. After finishing the 20 Bianco blue coins, I needed to decide what would win me the game. At this point, my read of the card was the following. Row 2 belongs to me, and I actually held on to the 20 Bianco blue coins and 20 blues from 2 levels to throw off Ramato and potentially make him interested in that row, especially because he clicked 25 lives in that row. I realized that I could contest row 3, but keep in mind, our whole game long, Ramato has been forcing shine progress, and Goldbirds and 8 Delfino shines were exactly along that line. Row 4 I had already given up, and row 5 I had a significant lead to with the Serena that I showed. However, row 5 was still scary for me. None of the remaining 3 goals were a lock. However, I thought if I could win row 1, especially 6 hidden shines, that would be my path to victory. Rows 1, 2, and 5. Now 6 hidden shines was weird, because at the point that I realized that I had to win that goal, I had a grand total of 0 hidden shines. But there were a few things that I knew to be true. First of all, Ramato, if he wants to win with row 1, has to secure other things first. Goldbirds is too important of a goal to leave up, no matter the circumstance. Beyond that, I thought he might also be tricked into potentially focusing row 2 a bit, like with 16 Noki blue coins into 20 blue coins from 2 levels. Another thing I had going for me was that I had pretty good hidden shine access. In terms of my hiddens, I had access to Bianco 3, Gelato hidden, Serena hidden, Rico hidden, and once I'd completed all those, Goldbird. The only extraneous shine that I would need to complete for my 6th hidden was Gelato 1, at which point I could get Gelato 1 reds. Remato would pick up Goldbirds, which was not a surprise, and I thought at that point that I was still losing the game. 6 hidden shines is just so many hidden shines when you don't have any of them, and they're also some of my weaker shines in terms of gameplay. That's when I caught what I saw as the luckiest possible break. Remato, just as I did, knew that both of us have been focusing shine progression so hard the whole game. Because of that, he made sure to secure 8 Delfino shines, and to be quite honest, it's a totally fair play. And for 5 enemy blue coins and for 1 shine from each level, both of those were goals that I was significantly ahead to, even if they were never ones that I meant to secure. If I had collected 3 secret shines, that row would definitely have been in my game plan, but I had essentially given it up the moment that was clicked. But because Remato had to waste his time getting Delfino shines, it would cost him just a little bit more time to getting 6 hiddens. After the Serena hidden, I counted up my hiddens and realized that I needed to get Goldbird. To get to Noki Bay to get that Goldbird, you have to activate the Pinna cutscene. If I had forgotten about this, it would have cost me the game. This extra trip to the Pinna Cannon would have been the difference to this goal. But the fact that I remembered it gave me just enough time to make it to Noki as Remato was entering Pianta Episode 8 to get the Shine in the Sun, both of which would be our 6th hidden.
Man, this is going to be close.
It's based on movement and stream delay.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
With, I think, Remato being slightly favored, not just for speed, but for the shine.
Dude, this is gonna be close. I'm really like, who's gonna click this first? You know, because I think Tomato has some. I think he has more stream delay, but maybe I'm wrong.
Tomato's up top.
Oh,
first.
we got it, dude! This is crazy. Look at Remato smiling.
After getting the 6th hidden, the closeout wasn't necessarily immediately obvious. If I had tricked Remato into going for blue coins, that meant that there was a very real chance he was close to 70 total blue coins. However, I still focused on row 5. Again, row 5 looks really secure with 2 clicks to 0, but none of the goals that I had in there were actually secure. I knew I was doing terribly on red coin shines, and in terms of 2 Piantissimos, I had no progress. The upside for me, though, was that I was only 1 shine away from 2 shines from 5 levels, and after completing Piano 1, that row belonged to me. From there, all I had to do was secure 70 total blue coins, and then the game was over.
Here we go, GG! Let's go!
Dude, I'm so fucking smart! I'm so smart, dude. I'm so smart.
The self-glaze.
I'm
to hear
so
it.
stupid, actually. I don't know how the hell that worked out. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
At this point, I was over the moon. After Game 9, I felt a little weird about winning in a format that Remato had so little experience in, especially with the post-game Johns he was making about how it was maybe his worst game ever and all of this nonsense. This one felt like a truly legitimate win, and one that validated the fact that I could really play at that level on my very best. For the remaining days, we took them far less seriously. Days 3 and 4 were filled with a bunch of new format ideas. A lot of them were really cool, like Bluff Out, Buy 3, Get 1 Free, and a bunch of other stuff. However, Day 3 would feature maybe the most intense game of the whole event. Game 3 would be a regular lockout with a twist. We would be playing on the first ever bingo patch, created all the way back in something like 2018 or 2019. While some goals had survived the test of time, a lot of the others looked incredibly out of place. Goals like 4 rocket nozzle unlocks, 400 coin shines, and Serena 3 no clipping were definitely very dated. To be quite honest, looking at the card, I felt incredibly pessimistic about the whole affair. There was a ton of shine progress, to the point where the Pinna Rush we were talking about for the other scenario would potentially even be viable. However, I realized I had to do a couple things to keep it close with Remato, and I had to fight for the shine progress, even if it felt hopeless. The first thing I expected him to do was to collect the 10 blue coins from Delfino Plaza. Even in the current patch, 11 Delfino blue coins might be one of the strongest goals of all, so 10 would be even stronger. My plan would be to pick up the 15 blues from Gelato Beach first, and it was actually something I was able to get away with. That being said, Remato was a full shine ahead of me going into Pinna Park, and he was able to pick up essentially everything he wanted, just before I was able to get there. Remato would collect 5 linked blue coin pairs right as I arrived in Pinna Park, meaning he was probably like 30 seconds ahead to 15 blue coins from Pinna Park when compared to me. Despite me fighting for that goal, Remato would still come out on top. However, Remato would pivot to completing the 25 blue coins from Pinna Park, where I would give up on that and focus instead more on collecting shines. That might seem a little odd, but I did it for 2 reasons. First of all, 25 blue coins from Pinna Park is a vastly different goal from 15 blue coins from Pinna Park. Essentially, the extra 10 blue coins are a lot slower, making you rely on the bullet bill shot from the mole and spraying these incredibly slow sand shines. While Remato picked it up, I tried to force 15 shines as fast as possible. This actually ends up being a really interesting goal, and in my opinion, I think we should bring it back. 15 shines is in a weird intermediate place between Pinna Park and Noki Bay. So a lot of the time, it's not a number of shines people care about rushing. However, with it being present on this card, it gave me a small foothold getting back into the game, at least threatening some sort of shine progress and forcing Remato to actively go after it. Seeing the 15 shines, Remato would commit to one of the fastest worlds in the game, Piana Village, where I would instead go to Bianco Hills. Bianco for Floodless is one of the faster goals on the card, but conveniently it also sets up for a ton of things. First of all, it has a rocket nozzle unlock, which is going to be crucial for 3 and 4 rocket nozzle unlocks later. Also, 3 shines from 4 levels is on the board. And, well, getting Bianco 4 would also make me get 3 shines from a level. It would also unlock a hidden shine, and a better location to do the 100 coin shine in if it came to that. I knew that by doing that play, I was going to be sacrificing the shine count value. However, I thought I might still be able to get 3 shines from Noki Bay before Remato would. Either way, I knew that if I lost that goal, I would likely still be able to win 3 shines from 4 levels, and that's essentially how it ended up playing out. Remato would click 3 shines from Noki Bay as I was making my way up to the final shine, but I used the opportunity to collect another rocket nozzle. Remato would also reveal that he had done 5 shines from Piana Village, and at this point, I realized something. After winning 3 shines from 4 levels and 4 hidden shines, I realized I was actually set up decently well for the rest of the card. The first thing I would do would be to collect both bell shines, which requires Pinna Park. The reason that this was my priority was not because it was necessarily the goal with the most value, but I knew that Remato had at least some Pinna Park progress with the 25 blue coins there. So if I could take that from him, I would ideally be taking away some meaningful value that he might have been counting on. Instead, Remato was completing the 100 coin shine from Serena Beach, or as it's more colloquially known, beach money. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of the time, 100 coin shines become particularly powerful once all of the shine progress stuff is off of the card, and now that collect 25 shines was clicked, it was a great time to simply make the commitment for one goal and set up to a second in 400 coin shines. We would essentially trade off the goals, with me clicking both bell shines and Remato being able to hang on to the 100 coin shine for a little bit before clicking it. While the score was 8-6, I actually felt surprisingly good about my prospects, because I was in Rico Harbor. Rico offered me a couple significant advantages. First of all, 6 shines from Rico Harbor is still on the card, which is fairly obvious. But also, Rico would be my crucial rocket that I needed for 4. At this point, I'd gotten the Bianco Hills and the Noki Bay rocket. I knew that once I got 30 shines, I would be able to get the Delfino rocket nozzle, which you get as a result of completing Pinna 4 and then defeating the other Shadow Marios in the Plaza. But at that point, I still needed a 4th rocket, and Rico would do very nicely. There was also Defeat Shadow Mario and Rico Harbor on the card, so if I could pick all of those up, I would actually be in a decent spot. During this time, Remato would pick up small miscellaneous things. like 60 total blue coins, where he'd already shown so many blue coins, and 4 shines from Gelato Beach, which is another one of those goals where you need to commit a slow shine along the way. What I didn't realize, though, was that his 4th shine from Gelato Beach wasn't Gelato 2. It was Gelato 100 coins, setting up for 400 coin shines. After a quick trip back to Bianco Hills for me to pick up my rockets, I would go back to focus on Rico. I didn't know if Ramato would be behind me in Rico because a lot of the information that he showed was fairly non-specific. And keep in mind, Ramato is so fast. It's totally possible that he was right behind me in Rico and either trying to just catch up or just been able to do shines in times when I hadn't been able to track him. But what Ramato was actually doing was setting up for 4 blue coins from butterflies. This is another goal that was removed in the recent patches. 4 blue coins from butterflies requires you to go to pin 6, get the 3 butterflies there, and then get to another butterfly spot deep in another world. Now, the goal is 1 butterfly blue coin that can't be in pinna. And while the goal's a lot better now, it still tends to be one of the later completed goals on a card. As I collected the 6 shine from Rico, Ramato would collect his 4 blue coins from butterflies. I would immediately follow it up with defeat Shadow Mario and Rico Harbor. And part of what Ramato's delaying did was actually trick me into doing the shine. At this point, he was holding on to 4 blue coins from butterflies, and a lot of my strategy in actually doing Shadow Mario and Rico before anything else was to threaten the Rico 8 butterfly as my 4th. In a game with information as imperfect as this one, I thought I could totally scare Ramato into doing 4 blue coins from butterflies while I focused on other things. But what I didn't know was that he had already completed the goal. From there, the score was 11 apiece, but from my point of view, it looked like 11-10. My next course of action would be 5 boss shines, because the Manta Ray would both act as a boss and then potentially set me up for Serena 3 no clipping down the line. Ramato would have the same thought, except that he didn't have the setup for 5 bosses. He would have to win every other remaining goal on the card. Even though he was behind a Serena 3 no clipping, he would still have to fight for it regardless. During all this, ingeniously, Ramato was still delaying 4 blue coins from butterflies. Because of that, my first instinct was to go for 400 coin shines. My read was that Ramato had 2 to my 1, which once again would make you think that that's not a good goal to go for. However, the commitment to securing 400 coin shines is so large. Doing 400 coin shines takes forever. Even the fastest 100 coin shines take a minute and a half, and that's before accounting for entering and exiting the level, which is probably another 30 seconds. My hope was that Ramato had done 200 coin shines, because if that were true, I knew I could win this game. What was really happening was the commentators were freaking out. I was actually ahead to Serena 3 no clipping by about 20 seconds. But instead, I left to go do 100 coin shines. And if I was right about my assumption that Ramato had done 2, I also would have been fine. What I didn't realize, though, were 2 crucial things. First of all, Ramato doesn't have 200 coin shines. He has 3. The ones that I expected him to have were the 100 coin shine from Serena Beach, which he had already shown, and then likely one of the 100 coin shines in a world where he'd gotten some butterflies. In this case, both of those were correct. He got the Serena 100 coin as shown, and he also got the Piana 100 coin. But the 100 coin that I didn't account for was the Gelato 100 coin, as his 4th shine from Gelato Beach. That was something that never crossed my mind, and it would cost me dearly. While I was working my Delfino 100 coin and Ramato was completing Serena 2, I thought I might have this game in the bag. Finally, Ramato would click 4 blue coins from butterflies, which in retrospect is surprising to me. He hung on to that click for a long time. He must have had a very confident grasp of where exactly I was in the game. And in my opinion, this is a very dangerous risk that was potentially unnecessary for him to get the win. But in retrospect, I also understand why he holds on to it for so long. A lot of the strategy when you're behind is you have to make the board a minefield. You need to trick your opponent into going for something crucial that you're already ahead to and make them waste their time so you can catch up in other areas. If I had gone for butterflies after 5 bosses, that delay would have gotten me brutally trapped, and I would have also instantaneously lost the game. Ramato would work on Serena 3 no clipping as I collected my second 100 coin and entered my third. The 100 coins I had left were Noki 200 coin, which is incredibly quick, and then Pin a 500 coin, where Ramato had to finish Serena 3 no clipping and then only had 100 coin shine left. As I saw Serena 3 no-clipping, I thought the game was in my hand. I really had thought Remato had only done 200 coin shines, and that this win was free for me. However, I was in for a rude awakening when Remato ended up winning the race to 400 coin shines.
EG.
At the end of the day, I'm really grateful that we were able to have this kind of event. It was very lucky how timings worked out, with me being on my spring break from school and Remato just being between jobs right as the event was able to happen. I have to say, incredible thanks to Remato, but especially to Funky Kong, who was able to restream almost all of the days, with day 4 I believe being restreamed by Miami Andy, who also deserves a huge thank you. Thank you as well to everyone who made the event possible, like everyone who commentated, like Funky, Weird, Jeff, Dex, Notator, Nofora, Braxman. There's names I'm forgetting, but again, even though these were the most entertaining games in my eyes, that doesn't mean there weren't still great moments everywhere else throughout the whole Scrimathon. And if you want to watch the full VODs, you can find them over on the SMS Bingo League YouTube channel. Overall, I'd say the event was a success. I actually achieved my 10% win rate, winning 2 out of 22 games, which I guess is more like 9%, but it's about as close as I was going to get to 10% under these conditions. I had a ton of fun playing a bunch of wacky formats against the greatest player of all time. And while I think he was a little tuckered out by a lot of the camera action, the constant interviews, and the immense focus it takes to play 6 whole games of bingo across about 7 to 8 hours in a day, I still think we both had a pretty good time, and we were able to raise $900 for future Super Mario Sunshine events. Where that's going to go, I couldn't tell you, but hopefully someone cooks up something awesome. If you have any cool ideas or you want to join the bingo community, all that information is in the description below. With that being said, subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Hopefully I'll have some new cool bingo stuff out relatively soon. I don't know exactly when I'm going to upload this. It's probably like a week from when I record this because it's probably going to take a lot of editing. I've got a bunch of cool projects lined up, one of which is I want to challenge a bingo player to another competitive game and have it affect the bingo match we play after. So you can have a vote in the comments below. Some of the people I was considering are playing Rasmus in Ultimate Chicken Horse, which he plays competitively, and then having the result of that impact a bingo game. A second of which is playing Trey in Mahjong, and then playing a bingo game after, with that impacting the game. And the third being playing Mars in Tetrio, with a result of the game impacting the bingo after. And then the winner of the bingo would be the winner of the mini event. So if you have a choice of those 3, make sure to let me know. I have not confirmed any dates or anything with any of them. I don't even know if they can all do it. But at least Rasmus and Trey seemed interested. I haven't approached Mars about it yet because I haven't exactly decided on the rule set I would want to use for that. But I have something quietly in mind. So let me know who you would prefer down below if that sounds interesting. Beyond that, thank you so much for watching all the way through. If this was interesting to you, consider subscribing, and more than anything, just like hang out with the bingo community. They're all really cool. I'm really grateful. We've got so many cool people in there. So, make sure to check that out. That being said, thank you so much, and have a good one. Peace out.